So I'm on the rafters and I'm cutting the bird's nest. I don't know what quite I'm gonna do at the back, so I'm gonna leave a little extra length and just cut them down. So this isn't 16 inches technically on center. I was just a hair shy, so it's like 17.9 on center, and it's not like a residential structure or anything, so it'll be fine. It saves me from cutting one more 2x4, and it will have some horizontal furring strips for support of the metal roof, so not a problem. Here's what I'm doing. This isn't a how-to video. I'm sure there's a real way to do this with a framing square. If somebody knows how to use a framing square, I'm sure you know. But what I'm doing is, this is for like idiots that like me that don't know how to use a framing square. And this isn't like a true pitch, like a 2-4 whatever roof. This is just what it looked good. And all I'm doing, I'm gonna try to handhold this, guys. So I am marking it. This is just a spacing thing that I have. And it's a little harder to do this on camera here because I don't have a tripod. So I'm just making a mark here. And then I'm gonna go on the other side, make a mark and make a mark. So I don't have a tripod that'll reach up here, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I'll show you guys. I'm gonna do this for this side. I went ahead and chalked a line and cut them at 5 inches across the board. The back, I'm trying to decide how much gap I want. I'm probably gonna cut those another inch because I wanna be able to get in there and paint them. Where it's at now, I won't be able to. So I'm probably gonna lump some more of that off. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the fronts off. The back clears. I don't know if you guys can see the backs. They clear. The fronts, I'm gonna go ahead and cut with a reciprocating saw. Well, I was gonna cut it on an angle, but that didn't work out so good. This blade is dull. I'm gonna go ahead and the other one I just kind of trimmed flat. This one I'm gonna cut flat too. Same height, just so it matches. So I'm gonna use 4 furring strips. I can't even talk. Furring strips, if I'm even saying that right now. And ideally I'd like to just buy 1x3s, but I have some 2x6s. I don't like to do this because of the knots, but this one worked out okay, at least half of it. So I ripped it in half, and then I'm ripping it in another half. So this is, it's not quite 3/4 of an inch, but I think it'll do good. I still have to rip this one. So I'm ripping it this way, you know, half of the 2x6, so 3, not quite 3 inches, of course. What was it, 2 3/4, and then rip it this way to get 4 pieces. So that if this one doesn't hit some huge knots and a bunch of holes, that'll work out. But my luck, I'll hit some knots and have to ruin another 2x4 or 2x6. So my ripping was close, but it wasn't right on. So I have 2 pieces that are 2 3/4. 2 furring strips are just a little shy of that. So as far as my width, I'm gonna do 2 3/4 for the small ones and then 1/8, a little bit more for the bigger ones. I'm gonna do one straight in the back. This is the back here. And I'm gonna do an inch overhang. So when I cut it against the house, it was a bit more of a gap than I like, 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna bridge that, and I'll still be able to paint because it's just the top, but it gives that metal a little extra support closer to the house. So I'm gonna rip this 1 3/4 inches, and then I'll probably just take a circular saw, I'll mark them all, and then I'll take a chisel and pop them out. And that's the back one. And then on the other ones, I'll probably just evenly space them. 2 in the middle, and then 1 at the end, but not right at the end. I'm gonna probably pull it back just a little bit, not quite to the end, maybe a few inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark these up and start cutting them. And I'm just gonna, once I mark them, try to hold them straight and just set my depth on the circular saw, whatever the depth is on those furion strips. Rip a couple lines and then chisel them out. At least that's how I'm gonna do it. There might be a better way. The first run at this, it went a little sideways. My guard here, the bolt was missing. So I had to find a bolt. I'm cutting only 3 at a time because my vice grips will only squeeze that much. I'm doing a video. So since I had to change my lines a little bit, I redrew them, and I have one of the boards in that next sequence, and I'm going to use that as a starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting these. Last night I finished notching all of those 4 with my chisel. It took a while, but it wasn't completely horrible. And I fit the slats in last night, and they all fit. I did have to make a small tweak to, I'll show you. I had to make a small tweak up here because of these posts. I didn't cut them low enough. I just notched them out right there. It was easier than trying to cut the post again. That way it won't interfere. But that is the grid structure. And these are homemade out of 2x6s, cut horizontally and diagonally to get these 3-inch furion strips. And they're about 3/4 of an inch. And in the back, what I did is I overhung, and I'll show you guys in a second. I overhung it, but what I'm going to do now is I'm screwing the 2x4 rafters into these, and the reason I may do some hurricane straps eventually, we'll see. I'm using 3.5-inch screws going in diagonally, and I really want to be able to take this apart if I have to redo the siding of the house. There's not enough distance, but if I take this roof off, no problem. And this thing's light enough where because it doesn't have the decking board, it's just the metal. I can lift the metal myself, and these 2x4s are not very heavy. Same thing with the slatting. And I should be able to unscrew it and have a friend just help me lift it right off. That is where I'm at. And these fit, there's a couple that are a little lower, a little higher, but it should be fine. It should give it just enough support, and it's coming together. I'm getting the home stretch. I'll show you guys how I'm toenailing these in here. And I just drill a, let's see if you can see me. I drilled a pilot hole and 3.5-inch deck screws. And going in an angle, as you might not be able to see, it bites in that wood a good distance. So they should hold pretty good. And I'm in quite a bit of the structure here. That's it. And just do the rest. And then what I am going to do once I'm done with that, cut off all these overhangs. And I was going to show you the side panel. And I'll just use my chop saw. I got it set up already. And what I did, just because I wanted to get room in there to paint and stuff, I might have went too much. You guys can see the top slat, I overhung it about, that's about a 1/2 inch, just to kind of give me a little bit more structure, if you will, on the siding, because the siding is going to butt up against the house. So that is about a couple inches. It's getting kind of close, but I wanted to get in there to paint. As far as maintenance, I don't want it to rot. Oh, that one's kind of screwed up there. I'm going to see if I can push that one more. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm moving the slats left to the right to kind of cut off the bad looking pieces. And that one is kind of gnarly. I'll have to make sure I do that. I just went and cut a 2x6 for one side of the handrail. This one's got a knot. I'll have to do some wood filler on that. And then I'm gonna go cut another one. And I'm thinking 3 screws in the top. 1, 2, 3. So I got carried away and haven't filmed. I have the metal roof on. And to cut this thing was a bit of a challenge. The directions say to use tin snips. I tried it. It didn't do anything but cut my hands. So I used my Metabo, which is a kind of like a grinder, but higher speed. My father-in-law gave it to me like 20 some years ago. I use it all the time. And it did a pretty good job. One of the things I noticed though, guys, my roof to the house and this structure is not squared. But you can't really see it from the top edge here, the overhang. It's like 3/4 of an inch off to the overhang on that side, but you can't really see it. I'll show you underneath here. You can kind of, you see where see the roof is? And then it disappears. But I did get some, I guess you can call it flashing, and I painted it. I'm waiting for it to dry. I painted it the same paint as we're painting the thing. And this is a 4-inch by 4-inch. I took it to a local building supply place, family owned, really cool, for $19. He's like, how big do you want it and what angles? I took him my angle, and he bent it, and I think this is going to work out. I'm just going to put it on the edge, butt it up against the house, and tie it in. The only thing that I'm going to have to do is figure out the corners a bit, and I'll show you guys that right here. Let me put this up. This is the Metabo. This is what I used to cut it. I thought about using my plasma cutter, but you can see that did a really good job. Hold on. That's not my cut edge. That is the cut edge. But as you can see, that did really good. Happy with yeah, I like that. Just I cut the corner just a little bit, bent this down, and then lapped this over. I do have a little bit of the, you can see the paint kind of came off when I used the tin snips, but I like that. It's not like in your face. This, not gonna touch it. If rain gets back in here, it'll shut off here and not touch the wood. I'm gonna go with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the other side, and then I'm gonna screw this down for the night, and the roof is done. I really like that. And I purposely measured this when I did the rafters so that based on my measurements, it would tuck underneath the shingle, not the shingle, but underneath the siding. So any rain that comes should roll off here. And yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Even though it's not perfect, but we're gonna go with that. Here's what I'm doing. These are 6x6, so 5.5 inch post. I did a 1x6 rough cut, and of course I just cut the front, and I'm not doing mitered cuts or anything fancy like that, and that's the way they did my porch, and it looks pretty good. This of course is a little bit different because I have to cut a relief in the back. That's really not different on the porch. If it was raised up a little bit, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but it'll look okay. And then on these, since I end up using screws, I'm planning to put the 1x6 on it and just give it a tap, mark it, and just kind of dig it out. I'll show you guys what I'm doing when I get to it. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting some 5.5 inch for the fronts, 5.5 in the backs. That's what I'm doing now. And I measured it out, that little relief cut, and that's what I'm cutting. I'm cutting this, and hopefully it'll fit, and hopefully I can get it in there without doing like a piecemeal thing. So I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to use my table saw, and this is going to, cut it more than I want to in the back, but you won't really see it with caulking. I just tried to do a piece, and I cut this piece instead of that piece. This is how I'm finishing off the post, and these are 6x1s or 1x6 rough cut. It's kind of a labor-intensive process. There might be a better way to do it, but I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing it. So don't use this as advice, but if you're wondering how I did it, my poster or my brackets are kind of thick. And I got these screws. Now I was going to use flathead nails, galvanized, but they were hard to get out. If I ever had to take these out to replace them, I'd have to grind them down. I did a test of one. I didn't like it, so I want these heavy duty screws. But as you can see, they protrude quite a lot. So first step is to mark it. I'm going to look at this and say, okay, what do I want for the top and the bottom? And I guess it really doesn't matter. I'm going to go with this being the top, just so I remember. And I'm going to put it up against here. I'm going to mark off my plate, the sides. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top, giving myself a little bit extra past the metal plate. Transfer them over. Four times. I got my ones on the side. And this is where I have to groove out on my plate. So that's the section I need to grind out, if you will. And to do that, I'm using this multi-tool or whatever they call it, but basically it's got this vibrating bit, and I start off, and it's probably easier to just rip it from the bottom on a table saw a bunch of times, but it actually goes pretty fast after I did the first one. I'm just gonna go ahead and nail them. I did paint them 2 coats, and I also made sure I painted the bottom because this isn't cedar, it's regular rough cut pine, and I wanted some moisture protection. And I'm just gonna go ahead and nail them with my brad nailer or molding nailer, straight nailer. And I'll do some caulking around here, and I'll touch up the paint. This way I don't get paint all over the tiles or the stones, but also I ensure that it won't rot as quick as it normally would. Well, I thought I was done with this project. I have 1 coat of paint on the post, but I have 2 coats of paint on everything else. And my wife, she cannot find curtains. She wanted to put some kind of curtains on each side. No matter what she does, she can't find any curtains. And, well, I shouldn't say can't find any curtains. Doesn't like putting a rod from back to front that basically overhangs it. She wants to, because I had to put this post out a little bit, she wants the curtains to go back a little bit further, so putting a rod like a shower curtain in between won't work out. So what I'm going to try to do is close in this space with a 2x12, extend it back a little bit so that it gives me that greater depth towards the house. I may put a brace for looks going from the, and I'll show you guys, from that 2x12 up to that rafter there. May not, depends on how it goes. But then what I'm going to do is, and this is my board, this is my 2x12, you can see my line. I'm going to try cutting it from here. This is a try because I don't know how this is all going to go, and I do have to cut a little bit off the end so it fits. So change of plans. This is the wood I cut. On the other side, the saw walked on me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if the blade is just kind of, or the bearing where the blade goes just kind of went weird. So I stopped it, cut the rest by hand. I should have just cut it by hand to begin with. Put some construction adhesive, liquid nails, all along the mating surface. And I really want it to kind of bond with that top piece. And then screw it to the sides, and I'm probably going to tack a couple screws or a couple nails up and down throughout just to kind of tie this piece of wood and then the piece of wood I'm putting on there. So that should do it. Once I squeeze it up there, it should squeeze out. I'll just clean it up. Save some for the other side. So there you go. The goal is not to get this crap on me or anywhere else. As you can see, I already got it right there. Hope you can hear me over the air condition. So this is what I end up doing. I already have it caulked. So here's my 2x12, and then so it blends in, I got a 2x6, and then I took a little piece of, I don't know, scrap, and I made it the same angle so it kind of follows through. And on the back side, I have a 2x4 that I ripped in half, so it's more like a 3/4 inch wide. And I put some nails and glue. And then on this side, I already have a coat of paint on it. You can see what my profile looks like now with one coat of paint on it. Now, if I knew my wife wanted something like this, I probably would have completely did a different roof style. But this is what I'm working with. I picked this up on Amazon. It's much better than what I was gonna make. It's two rails or 5 feet each, and it comes with a bunch of these rollers, some end caps, which I don't necessarily care for the shininess of it. I'll probably go ahead and spray paint those flat black. And if you're doing like a long one, it's got these, I don't know what these are. They have some of these attachments. I think these are to tie it together. So if you want to do one long one, it kind of binds them. It goes in between. And it comes with an assortment of attachments. If you want to do a ceiling attachment, or if you want to do like a wall attachment. And I guess that's good. I'm not going to use them because you have to release it. And I don't want to have that profile. Instead, I'm going to drill some holes directly in the railings and affix it to the wood. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these using a wood miter saw. I've never cut aluminum with a wood miter saw. People say you can do it. Dulls the blade a little bit. Use a little WD-40. Some of the reviews or blogs I've read, they say WD-40 or wax would help a little bit on the wheel. I'm going to try that. I don't have to cut much, and that's what I wanted. Mine are just short of 5 feet, so I'm only going to cut a couple, 2-3 inches off of each one. And there was many out there. I'll put a link in the description of the one I used. I bought one off of Amazon. It was this cheap plastic thing. It's like 1 foot tracks. You kind of put them together. It was junk. This one looks really well built. The box when it arrived was completely damaged. Things were sticking out of it, but everything looked there like it was there. And it came with this protective coating, and it's a very high grade aluminum, very thick. And how it works is, I don't have my tripod hooked up, and I'll show you once I get it out there, but these rollers will roll on that track and they just glide, and they're not ball bearing, but they're rollers. A lot of the other ones are just like friction based. They just slide plastic against plastic. And these I think will work out really good, and then I can finally be done with this project. My wife can put her curtains up and I can move on to the things I want to do. So that's what I'm doing today, and I'm gonna go out there and measure this and cut it, and I'll show you guys. Here's the bottom of the rail, and my idea was the profile would just be up here. On the side it looks fine, but if you look around it, it looks weird if we go all the way out the end. So back here, I'm going to go to the end of the wood, and on the front, I'm going to go to the end, almost to the end. I have a bracket that's going to stick out. So I heard this stuff makes a horrible noise and goes flying everywhere. So I got safety glasses and a shield on. Get my little knee mat out. I got some WD-40. And I guess I'm going to spray. Yeah, I don't know really what I'm doing with the WD-40. I don't want to scratch this up too much. Let's give it a shot. Wow, that was nice. I expected much worse. I don't know, but that WD-40 I think did more harm than good. But you guys can see that. That's perfect. I'm happy with that. Now I got to clean out all this metal and the WD-40 out of this channel here. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I don't know if you guys can see it. It made a mess in there. I don't think I'm going to spray any more on it. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill some holes. I don't know exactly the size of the screw. It's a stainless steel screw that I just had laying around. I'm going to have to go get some more though. I'm going to use it for an example. The hole is going to be a 9/64 using a little gauge. If you guys don't have a little gauge, these are always handy. Shows you the hole. And I just took the screw that I found, and I had like 3 of them. I'm gonna have to get some more. And I was just going through here saying, does it fit? Does it fit? Does it fit? Is it too tight? And like 5/32s, it'll fit. And you flip it over, there's another measurement here. So I just kind of said, okay, 9/64 will work. So I just found a drill bit in my, I gotta organize it, but my drill bit drawer. And I'm going to not get super scientific with this. I'm gonna go a couple inches in from each end, and then 2 more screws kind of dividing in the middle. You're not gonna see them, but what's important is that I get it right in the middle, because this screw, the reason I picked this screw was because it fits in the channel. See this channel? The screw is gonna come up through the bottom, and I wanted to find something that was going to fit in that channel. So the closer I have it in the middle, the better chance I have actually fitting when I actually put the screws in here. So that's why I picked this screw, and I figured it should be long enough. Hopefully it bites the wood enough, and I do have enough clearance. If it doesn't work, I can try to find some, you know, wood screw that's a little better. This is made more for metal, and when I'm at the store, I might find some the same size that are for wood. But I'm going to go ahead and drill the hole right now because I'm waiting to go to the store. So I'm going to eyeball them, and this is aluminum, so it should go pretty easy. And when I say eyeball, I'm just kind of putting my fingers down. Can you see that? Okay, you can. I want to make sure. I'm just kind of eyeball them, looking at one finger. Okay, what's the measurement? Is it more or less to one side? I got one hole mark here, another one marked here. So I'm gonna go kind of just dividing up the distance between those holes. It doesn't have to be perfect. Right there, right there. But I am gonna get it really close to the center. And then once I do get that center, I'm gonna have to get a better light. Oh, that's good. I got this metal divot thing, just so the drill bit doesn't walk all over the place on me. And you can use a hammer in any kind of Phillips screwdriver, anything that you can, just make a little divot so your drill doesn't walk on you. That's it. I'm gonna go drill all the other ones, go get my screws. I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna finish this. These black rails came with these end caps that are like shiny chrome. I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put some painter's tape over the ends because the metal are the rings. Let me grab one. So here are the rollers that roll in the channel. They have this ring, so I'm gonna leave the ring chrome. I might even tape a little bit around. Actually, I'm not gonna do around the base. I'm just gonna tape it up a little better than I have it. Spray paint them with some cheapo flat black, and should match. Should match. So I matched it up in the hardware store. They are number 6 stainless steel screws. And I went a little bigger. These are 1-inch screws and are bigger than what I had for the sample. I'm just gonna go ahead and take this protective cover off. And then line it up best I can to the edge. I guess I could have cut a little bit more off of here. Maybe not. Nope. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and screw it in there. Now this track was meant for one solid curtain, meaning those caps are for one on each end. I'm using one per side, the caps on the front, and on the back, I'm just using some large stainless steel screws. I'm gonna pre-drill a hole in the back. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm just gonna pre-drill a hole towards the back. I'm going up in. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put this on now, but I'm gonna have to take it back off. I'm gonna go instead of finding one that goes within the track, this is gonna be outside of the track because this is just gonna be a stop for me. It barely is in, it's not like holding anything. And what I'm gonna do, just use a screwdriver. And, well, I guess I can put them on the front, but the front's going to fit a little tighter. That way I can, it's just a stop for the rollers. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rollers in. I don't know how many I'm going to use, but my thought is, again, this is only on for a couple of teeth. It's barely holding on there. Stainless steel, so it shouldn't rust. And then I can put my rollers on. Whoa, I forgot I don't have a front stopper, so I'm just going to leave it at that because they're falling on the other end. And then I can go like that, and that's my stop. For the curtains, we found these at a local discount store called Big Lot, and it's a shower curtain. It's 70 by 72. Originally, we bought 4 of them, thinking we'd use a panel or 2 panels for each side. They were too big, and I'd need new rollers or additional rollers. So what I'm doing is cutting it directly in half, because the idea behind it is when the curtains are closed, it'll be flat instead of being pleated. It looked a little weird being pleated. We were kind of holding them up there and testing them out. So I'm going to cut just with some scissors in half. And what I've done is just taken and folded it over twice. And I'll show you. Let me cut this. I'm going to go ahead and use these scissors. These are made for fabric. And I'm going to cut it in half. And I'll show you how, at least I'm doing it. I'm no seamstress. I've gotten my use out of this brother sewing machine. Bought it at Costco probably for, I don't know, 60, 70 bucks years ago. Hem pants and a few other little things where it doesn't pay to have someone do it for you. And if you can't find something to make it work, it comes in handy when you got to make it work yourself. And yeah, we actually tried to find curtains to fit, and they just didn't work out. Same thing with the hooks. Couldn't really find any hooks that would work, so I went on Amazon like I do for most things. These are these stainless steel hooks, S hooks. Think they'll work. I've just looped it through, and it seems like it'll be nice, high and tight. Those were like 200 for like $9 or something like that. So that's the plan. So let me go ahead and cut this, and I'll show you how I'm sewing. I'm doing these like I do pleated pants or hem pants. I'm just using pins. I'm going to fold it once, about a 1/2 inch. Fold it again. And then using a pin, I go down, out, and then in again. And that's it. And I'm going to create that hem. I'm going to do this all the way down the whole thing. And at first I was doing like every 6 inches, but I just realized it holds it nice and tight, saves me more time in the end if I just do them continuous and pull them off when I get to the machine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll give you a look if the pin's going all, oh, I missed a couple. I'll have to get that all the way down. For this, I'm just using a classic straight stitch, which I got to put back on. I was experimenting with something else. And I'll just slowly pull these out as I go. So, and then of course on the top, do this one-handed here. I can barely do it with two hands. And I'm going to hit the back button just to kind of lock in the stitch. And get close. Pull this out, and then I'll actually pull maybe the green one out too. And then I'll hold this with one hand, and then hold the back with another so it's tight. And it just seems like it keeps that crease. Yes, you'd probably be better if you took it off and you iron a crease in it, but I'm not going to go through that trouble. And yeah, I got this one more panel to do, and I'm going to hang it up and be done with this project. Here's these end caps that I painted. I don't know why they would be chrome on a metal black rail. And the top piece I didn't paint, but that'll be hidden. And this, I'll loosen up the screw a little bit and cap it off. All right, guys, this is the final video of this build series. I see I got the curtains on, and the space on the top is just perfect. What I am probably gonna do is this last hook, I'm gonna use a little bit of a fishing line where you can't see it, and just tie this last one back so it doesn't move up. And because this one that is on the end cap, you can see, it looks good on this end cap. This is locked in place, and it makes the operation of this work pretty good. Now, they glide super smooth. I'm very, very happy with the track and rollers. The shower curtain worked out perfect, and it was cheap. I think it was $11 or $12. We needed two of them, and I cut them in half. And the other advantage of the shower curtain is that it's designed for a moisture type of area, and you can wash them. So I think they match really good. Let me stand all the way back here, if I can get back far enough. She still wants to put little tie backs on each of the four corners, and that's how they will sit most of the time, except for every once in a while when the sun is blazing, like now, you can kind of close it if you want to sit out here. And usually you don't sit out here mid-afternoon. A lot of times it's that one when the sun is rising, and just be able to kind of shut it out of your eyes. But 99% of the time it'll be open and tied back with some kind of probably dark gray or tan tie backs. So that's it. Let me give you guys a step back view of this. The chair is in, the roof is in, the curtains, the roof has been tweaked, and I'm gonna call this done. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.